in the ideals that shaped America. He professes the epitome of Americanism and continually promotes the standards of what it means to be an American. I would like Stan Larson, I would like Andy Schwichtenberg to come up and introduce Stan. You can applaud now.
Always enjoying Melinda helping him with it.
So, Mr. Stan Larson, it's an honor to introduce you both as a proud military veteran, as a long-term citizen of the city of Menomonee Falls. Stan's service signals near and dear to my heart, given that both my granddads had a Purple Heart in Korean War. Stan has become, over the past few years, not only a client of mine, but grown to be a good friend and a idol to look up to. Let's see. It is with great honor and humble respect that I, first of all, on behalf of all of us in the room, thank Pat, first of all, Stan's wife, for supporting him through Growing up on the East Coast out in Boston, Massachusetts, I can still park the car by the yard, but I shed the accent pretty quick. Going to Menomonee Falls High School, I learned a bit about the Culpeper Minutemen. And the Culpeper Minutemen were a militia of farmers that were all volunteers during the Revolutionary War. And Stan exhibits the strengths and confidence that they had in our country and everything he breathes, lives, and talks. So with that, I'd like to introduce Stan Larson.
Thank you, Andy, for the kind words and introduction. I also want to thank the Greater Menomonee Falls Foundation for presenting me this prestigious award, because I am very humbled and honored to receive it. I'd like to introduce my wife, Pat, that Andy mentioned this briefly. In 25 days, this young bride of mine and I are going to be married 63 years. I'd like to introduce my son Dave and his wife, attorney Michelle Larson, Lori and Jeff Ross, Tim and Julie Young, my granddaughter Kaylee Larson, and her guest Paul Salantani. I want to say thanks to all my fellow veterans and all my friends for making this evening a great special honor. My donation is going to be going to my favorite charity, which is the Stars and Stripes Honor Flight. Do we have any veterans here that have been on the honor flight? Raise your hand. I want to see a couple. There's Wally. Myself, I was on it 5 years ago. And if you know any Vietnam veterans, sign them up, because they have got 1,600 veterans from Vietnam that are signed up for the honor flight. Just last Saturday, Wally went out with 5 other guys from our post, VFW Post 94, 96, and American Legion Post. The Stars and Stripes Honor Flight has flown over 130 military personnel from Menomonee Falls. And if you have not been to a homecoming, I would suggest you go. It is absolutely awesome. Because when we came home, there was estimated between 5,000 and 6,000 people at the airport, and it was really a rousing homecoming. You know, I have it, you have it, we all do. But what do we have?
Freedom.
Right, we share the greatest gift in America. It's our freedom. Why do you have it? When did you get it? And who from? I'm a member, like I said, of the Veterans VFW Post and American Legion, and I would like to show a hand of everybody that has worn Americans' uniform, men and women. Put your hands up, folks. Thank you for that honor, because I believe they are the givers and the keepers of this great gift of freedom. I didn't do it, you didn't do it. The U.S. military has accomplished this great gift. In 1775, the Minutemen engaged in a battle with England to gain the freedom, and from that freedom was formed a new nation, the United States of America. In 1787, the Constitution was drafted, and that in turn gave and protected more freedoms to Americans. The Civil War, that was a very bloody battle, tough war. What has it got to do with freedom? I think if you were to ask me, I would say the biggest freedom from that one is that the American slaves got their freedom. World War II gave many, many European countries and the South Pacific freedom. And here again, if you were to ask me who benefited the most, I would knock on the doors of a Jewish Holocaust survivor, because I'm sure they were absolutely amazed. I spent the year of 1952 in Korea, and I did not get a Medal of Honor or even a Purple Heart. I got a good friend back there. Our Blazak got 3 of them in Vietnam. But the thing is, the military in Korea helped create and gave a new nation the freedom that was founded to become South Korea. And you know, most of you were not born when that ceasefire, there was never an ending to the war, it was a ceasefire. Hopefully within a few months, we are going to have a true blown peace in Korea. Did South Korea appreciate what they received from us? I was going to bring a thank you note that I received in the mail from the South Korean government on the 50th anniversary of the end of the Korean War. And they sent a thank you note to all American military that served in Korea. I think that's probably only one of the only countries that has ever sent a thank you note. And today, to the men and women that served in Korea, they are so proud of what they have that they will send a veteran back for a week at no charge to view their city and their country that they've got. 4 of our guys from our VFW post went last fall, and they asked me if I wanted to go along, and the doc says, well, Stan, I can't stop you, but I'm going to tell you I don't think you can take the trip. So I didn't get to go. But they wined and dined our veterans, and they met the president and everything else. Great, great one. Another one I remember well, not being there, but seeing pictures of the Iraq War that gave freedom to that country. I remember well the picture of a person holding up their finger with blue ink on it to signify they had just cast their first vote in their life because of the freedom we gave that country. I like to think that the U.S. military that did not come home from foreign battles didn't lose their life. They gave their life for somebody else's freedom. If you want to hitchhike a little on that, you read 1 John chapter 3, verse 16, and it'll tell you what to do. Freedom comes with a lot of pain and suffering. As a Christian, my freedom of sin came with great pain and suffering and death on a cross. I'm going to ask you folks, please don't lose your freedoms and cherish them. Thank you to the Greater Menomonee Falls Foundation.
For those who may not know, each award winner receives a $250 grant with which to donate to a nonprofit of their choice. Our next award is the Unsung Hero Award. The person receiving this award is an inspirational role model. Through caring actions and outstanding acts of humanitarianism, he has contributed significantly to others' quality of life and has positively impacted the greater community. I would like Police Chief Anna Ruzinski to come up and introduce Reverend Russell Knoth.
Good evening. The one thing I did not want to do was follow him. But here I am. I put Russ up for this award, or as I affectionately refer to him as the Rev. The Rev has been our police and fire chaplain for over 28 years. He has volunteered time, not only riding with the officers, just to be a good listening for them. He has helped them through sickness. He has helped them with the birth of their children. He has done all of our prayers for our new officers and firefighters. He has married a bunch of our officers. I was figuring it out that with the amount of time he has volunteered to our police and fire, he has done over 163,000 hours that he has volunteered for us. And I don't know who has more fun, because if there's a fire, you will see the Rev out there, totally geared up, set to go. He accompanies our officers if they have to make a death notification, which you can imagine is one of the hardest things we do. But the Rev brings that spiritual feeling for us, and he helps those families. So not only is he helping our police officers, our firefighters, but he's helping the citizens that we deal with on a daily basis as well. So it is truly my honor for a guy who is always smiling, but just quiet and in the background. It is just truly my honor to have him honored here tonight. Rev, if you could please come up.
Well, I also want to start by thanking the Greater Menomonee Falls Foundation for this honor as the Unsung Hero for 2018. And to be real honest with you, I'd just soon stay the Unsung Hero. Not that I'm not used to public speaking, but I like flying under the radar and just doing what I need to do. I want to express a special thanks to the 4 police chiefs and 4 fire chiefs that I have served under, because as a volunteer chaplain, I serve at the pleasure of the chief. And so if the chief decides they don't want a chaplain or don't want me as a chaplain, I wouldn't be able to do what I have done. I want to offer a special thanks to retired Chief Petroff. He's the one that got me into this. When he was a lieutenant, one Wednesday morning at our Optimist Club meeting, he sat down next to me and he said, "Russ, would you be interested in serving as police chaplain?" That was back in 1989. And I responded by, "What's a police chaplain?" And he said, "I'm not really sure, but I know we need one." And I also thanks to Chief Ruzinski, who nominated me for this recognition. I've been police chaplain for almost 3 decades. I've been fire chaplain here in Menomonee Falls for 10 years. I just retired this past month from the Germantown Fire Department after serving 12 years. Sometimes being a chaplain is very hard, but it's always been very worthwhile. The hard part comes when you get that call in the middle of the night. "Chaplain, we need you to go with an officer to make a death notification." Or can you respond to the scene of a suicide? And this is really hard when a young person's involved. It's hard to stand with a homeowner when their home is on fire and they're watching, not knowing what precious memories are going to be saved. Or it's very difficult to sit with an officer or a firefighter after a horrific accident and do a debriefing. But though those are the hard parts, one of the things my presence says to our citizens and to our officers and our firefighters is that this department cares about you as an individual. But in addition to those hard parts, there's so many more good parts. Ride-alongs any time of the day or night. And if you really want to experience Menomonee Falls, ride with a police officer on late shift in a snowstorm in January. The village looks altogether different. Or to be able to lead local parades. And I've had the opportunity not just to ride in the lead squad car, but a couple of times even drive the lead squad car. There's meals at the firehouses or spending the night at the firehouse. And I am privileged to work with some of the finest men and women that you'd ever want to know. They keep me young because I'm the old guy in the police and fire department. They keep me active, they keep me sharp, they keep me always willing to learn more and do more. And after all, to be really honest, what little kid doesn't want to ride in a squad car with lights and siren? Or to respond in a big red fire truck? I mean, how can you beat something like that? Most importantly, I want to thank my family, and especially my wife, Rosemary, who can't be here this evening because she's home suffering from bronchitis. But they have not only allowed me the freedom to be a police and fire chaplain, but they have encouraged me to do this. My wife knows better than anyone the meals that have been missed, the calls in the middle of the night, the time that has been taken away from family that this position requires. And she's never complained. She has only one rule: no fire pagers in the bedroom. The $250 gift that I'm being given is going to the Concerns of Police Survivors, the COPS organization, for the important work that they do all around our country. And again, thank you very much. And if this speech is too short and we want to keep Newman off the stage, I do have a couple old sermons that
Our third award is the Shining Star. This award will be given to a member of a not-for-profit who has dedicated his time and talent and made a generous commitment to that organization. Through high acts of volunteerism, the organization makes a significant impact on our community. I would ask Robyn to come up and introduce Harry Stoetzel. Thank you.
Okay, so it takes a whole village to raise a handicap. Tonight's recipient of the Shining Star Award started in video productions in 1979. You probably don't know him very well because he's usually in the studio at the high school, or he would be in that big black trailer, maybe at a parade or a sporting event. In 1982, Peggy and Harry Stoetzel bought their first house in Menomonee Falls, and shortly after, he started his production company, making corporate and industrial training tapes. He finished school for computer repair, but with Peggy's blessing, he started Stoetzel Productions. Within a year, he was traveling the country doing work for Life Touch Photography, the University of Notre Dame, and in 1991, he was shooting a documentary in communist Yugoslavia. Later that year, Harry called the high school. Annie, I gotta hold that straight. Later that year, Harry called the high school and spoke to then Principal Dick Rosencraft. He was wondering if there were students in a film or media class that would be interested in working for Stoetzel Productions while getting some hands-on training. Dick said sure, and invited him to the school to see the media studio. What he saw was a large, unexcavated room of dirt with piles of broken chairs. The planned media class was still a year or two away. Upon Dick's suggestion, Harry met with the Cable Access Corporation Board to make suggestions on new equipment and furnishings. Along with Cable Access godfather Paul Wickesberg, the new Media Studies Cable Access Partnership had their open house in November of 1992. For the next 14 years, Paul and Harry volunteered, providing most of the programming, running meetings, and Little League games for days on end. In 2007, the need for a full-time coordinator was apparent, and the next era of cable access was born. Combining the challenges most community access centers face and ability to push the boundaries on the available technology, Harry made Falls Cable Access one of the models in the state for not only the quality of productions, but the amount and variety of locally produced programs. By 2010, there were 7 regularly taped programs that averaged 60 first-run airings a year. Add to that 50-plus church services, 48 village and school board meetings, 3 parades, a dozen concerts, 50 high school sporting events, and you soon averaged over 200 programs a year. As many first-run programs as at the same time, Falls Cable Access was providing training not available anywhere else. At present, the new age of delivering content in many different platforms and a variety of users is presenting a new challenge for community television. Falls Cable Access is now meeting that challenge and preparing for their next chapter. Community access was created by the FCC in 1976 to protect the First Amendment rights of the consumer. Falls Cable Access has always enforced that protection. They have also provided for the special citizens who volunteer in Menomonee Falls an avenue for promoting their mission statements and projects. Because of Harry's passion for video and commitment to the community itself, we honor my dear friend Harry Stoetzel with the Greater Menomonee Falls Shining Star Award.
My timing is great on this. Thanks. Robyn, don't go too far. I learned something from Robyn about speeches, so this is what I'll be reading. Thank you, Robyn, for that introduction. Thank you, Robyn, for that introduction and for nominating me for this award. I really didn't want to read, but I'm going to have to. I want to first thank the Greater Menomonee Falls Foundation for this award and recognizing the work of Falls Cable Access in the community. I want to thank in particular Sue Jeskowitz, Ann Wonke, and Robyn, and those who advised us on tonight's festivities. I also want to thank all the grant winners for the work that they do here, in particular tonight's award winners, Tim, Russ, and Stan, for they obviously deserve their recognition. I also want to let Tim know, since I think he's been watching the Senate hearings on the new CIA director, that I would be glad to relinquish 3 of my minutes to you. I'll take them. You're going to need them. 20 years ago, I spoke at Optimist for the first time. I was very nervous, and a guy I didn't even know in the back of the room heckled me the whole time. So tonight is payback. I also want to thank some special guests who are here tonight. From Points North, my in-laws, Frank and Mary Widmeyer, Ken and Sue Nyrider, and my sister-in-law, Joanne Clum. And it's not that rare in these parts, but they will tell you that my wife's grandmother, Nettesheim, is the sister of Tim's grandmother, Nettesheim. We still have no blood relation. From Point South, which I grew up on the south side of Milwaukee, I have here tonight my brother, Tom, and his wife, Cindy. My brothers, did Pat show up? Pat's not here. I have 6 brothers and a sister. My mom and dad had 7 boys before they had my little sister. Anyway, we bought him a TV then. My brother Tom and his wife Cindy, my brother Brian, and my baby sister Susan with her husband David Clark. Don't crane your neck, it's not that David Clark. Also here are my pride and joy, my son Nick and my daughter Ann. And I couldn't be more proud of the people that they've turned into, the adults they've turned into. Not only did they put up with me not being around all the time, but they pulled cables and worked teleprompters, and whenever I needed help running a camera, they pitched in. So they were a big part of cable access. And I don't want to forget my son-in-law, Andy, who along with Ann are celebrating their 4th wedding anniversary tonight. It's 4? Sure. Okay, so 1 year. 1 more year of Ovation. And lastly, my savior, confident friend, and lately nurse, my wife Peggy. you can't imagine what she puts up with. But it's her support and unconditional assistance. This award would not even be on my radar. I could spend an hour thanking her publicly, but I would pay for it tomorrow. As Robyn mentioned, I got involved with cable access when I offered to put Little League games on the local channel. We taped them with 2 cameras, and the kids got to have their names underneath. I thought it would be a cool thing, and everybody loved it. For some, it was maybe their only chance of ever having that, seeing that on TV. And for others, maybe it was an inspiration they need for greater things. I soon, after meeting more and more of our neighbors, realized that if I was going to give back to the community, the best way was to use my tools and talent and help the heavy hitters, that's all of you people out there, as they made their contribution to the community. To accomplish this, we needed a whole lot of help, and the original Cable Commission had the foresight to invest in our local TV channel and find a way to keep it going. So I want to thank those people who had the vision, and it's people like Sue Jeskowitz, Dick Wuzencraft, Robyn, Joellen Mulder, Dick Fahrenkopf, Joe Greco, John Stacy, Fran Vanucci, Mike Hurt, and the grandfather of cable access, and I'm afraid he had to leave. Is Paul still here? Many of you I don't know if you remember, Paul Wickesberg is the one who is who kept cable access together and really inspired me to stay involved. He has no idea how much I learned from him. Since 1992, we've had some trying times, and there's no way Paul or I could have gotten through that without the guidance of our board of directors. I want to take pretty pictures, but not run a business. So as people like Beth Harwood, Dave Zamborski, Tom Shannon, Paul Schrampka, Jack Petroff, and village leaders like Dr. Keith Marty, Dr. Jim Shaw, village board members like Jim Staliga, Mike McDonald, Steve Raymond, Sharon Ellis, Dennis Farrell, Jim Jeskowitz, Randy Newman, and so many others who promoted the work of cable access. None of their support can be overstated. So thanks to all of them. That brings us to our present board of directors. And I'm not sure how many are here, but when you hear their names, it kind of sounds like the Mount Rushmore of Menomonee Falls. These are people who have been around for a long time and put their heart and soul into everything and really don't need to be out front at all. All of them are committed to Menomonee Falls at a ridiculous level for 30 to 50 years each. They each bring a particular skill set and knowledge to our organization, and their guidance has been a godsend. I started my first business 35 years ago, not only because I loved working with cameras and editing, but because I couldn't work for someone. I just couldn't work for anyone. I was not a good employee. Our board has tiptoed around that fact for many years, and I applaud them for their patience. I'd like them to stand. Karen Nelson. Karen had to leave. She did her 200th show last night for Village Voices, and that show had 200 shows volunteered, and everyone knows how sharp Karen is. We helped over 80 different organizations on that show, some of them 20 or 30 times. So thanks to Karen. Dick Becker, of course, is on our board. He's our treasurer, but since Dick's been on the board, we really run it like a board. And we appreciate that. Our municipal judge, Brad Mathieson, is Brad here? You know, they all told me this morning at a meeting they were going to be here. Brad Mathieson, ex-principal Bill Hintz, former village president and Kurt, Mr. Irrelevant, Rick Reckless. And finally, our board president, Mike Middick, who has put more time and effort into keeping the ship upright. I especially want to thank Mike, our president, so thanks to all of them. Finally, I want to take a second to campaign for the foundation and the groups that I have come to work with in Menomonee Falls. Menomonee Falls did not get to be the best place to live in the world by accident, and I say world. The fabric that this community is built with is woven with a commitment to helping others in volunteerism. And it's installed at an early age here. As a matter of fact, the $250 award this evening I'm giving out is going to the 4-H club, the Busy Beavers. 2 reasons. Great bunch of kids, they taught leadership early. I've been impressed with them every year that we met them. And I still remember when I was 12, and I pledge my head to clearer thinking, my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to greater service, and my heart to health to better living for my community, my country, and my club. So it's especially great that we could do this. And Mrs. Polly here? Everybody, oh, there she is in back. She's kept the club together for years. They are a 501(c) because they're a charter club. So thank you. Learning to give it an early time in your life is so important, and we need people like that to continue the legacy of all of you here. Because I communicate with so many groups, I've seen the membership shrink a little bit, and the core volunteers retire or worse, burn out. So we need to look at our friends and neighbors, ages 30 and 40 years old, to join in on the fun. And if not, pledge that estate or property or newfound fortune to the foundation so they can continue supporting these important community groups. We've seen things around the area that really have disappeared or gone quiet, and it's really because we're not getting some of the younger people in to do that hard work and continue on. Let's see. And finally, I want to thank the most inspirational person I've ever met in my life. Whenever I feel sorry for myself or I think it's hopeless and I should walk away, I just say to myself, damn, Robyn. I don't need to tell anyone in this room how much she means to the people here and how many lives she has touched. Raised by two incredible parents, Lou and Alice, she has set an extremely high bar for those of you donating time and money to others. I will say thanks again to everyone for being here, and I will finish with a quick Robyn story. When life throws Robyn a roadblock, she usually says she's got herself into a little pickle. Living near her and being ambulatory at the time, I was on a list of people Robyn would call when in a pickle. So one very cold January day, Robyn called and said she was in said pickle. So I rushed over and found her in her car in the garage with a dead battery. Since the battery was dead, she couldn't open the electric door or put the ramp out. So there she sat. Luckily, she had her cell phone. So I got between the car, the van, and the garage wall, crawled on my knees, opened her door, got my arm in between her legs to get the hood open, and then got stuck trying to get back out. The seatbelt, so a Kodak moment. I got the hood open, started the van, checked her door and ramp, and it was working. I thought all along that she had just gotten home, but I found out she was leaving. So I wanted to stay in the driveway and make sure everything was okay, so I waited while she warmed up the car. And then I thought, well, it's taking a long time, and I want to make sure she gets it checked before she goes anywhere else. So I called her back in the car on the phone, and I said, Robyn, where are you going, by the way? And she said simply, an elderly friend of her mother couldn't drive anymore, and she was going to take her shopping.